In the small frontier town of Willow Creek, life was often tough and unforgiving. Dust swirled around the wooden houses, and the sound of horses' hooves echoed down the dirt streets. Among its residents was Thomas, a penniless widower who had seen better days. Since the passing of his beloved wife, Mary, nearly a year ago, he had felt an emptiness that seemed impossible to fill. Every morning, Thomas would rise with the sun, donning his worn hat and patched coat. He would walk to the local general store to pick up supplies for his simple meals. The townsfolk greeted him with sympathetic nods or polite smiles, but he could see the pity in their eyes. They whispered about how he had once been a man full of laughter and dreams. Now, he carried the weight of loss on his shoulders. Thomas spent most of his time alone in his small cabin, surrounded by memories of happier days. He often gazed at a faded photograph of Mary hanging above the fireplace. Her bright smile seemed to shine through even in its worn condition, reminding him of love that felt so distant now. In his heart, he struggled with feelings of guilt and sorrow, wondering if he could have done something more to protect her from illness. The days passed slowly as Thomas tended to his small garden and repaired fences that had fallen into disrepair. Each task felt heavier than the last, and loneliness wrapped around him like a cold blanket. At night, he would sit by the fire, listening to the crackling wood while staring into the flames. The darkness outside echoed his thoughts, a deep void where happiness once resided. Despite this sadness, there was a flicker of hope deep within Thomas. He longed for companionship again, but fear held him back. He worried that no one could ever understand what he had lost. Little did he know that change was just around the corner, an unexpected encounter that would turn his world upside down and bring light back into his life. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows over the vast stretch of land that surrounded Willow Creek. A wagon train, its wooden wheels creaking as it traveled, moved cautiously along the rugged trail. Families were aboard, bound for hope and new beginnings in the untamed West. Laughter and chatter filled the air, but a sense of dread simmered beneath their excitement, as tales of bandit attacks were common among travelers. Suddenly, the peaceful atmosphere shattered like glass. A piercing whistle cut through the air, followed by shouts that echoed against the canyon walls. Out of the brush emerged a group of masked bandits, their faces obscured and eyes gleaming with malice. They rode in on horseback, their weapons drawn, intent on raiding the unsuspecting wagon train. Chaos erupted as the first gunshot rang out, sending a jolt of panic through the passengers. Mothers screamed for their children while fathers attempted to shield their families from the oncoming storm. The sound of galloping hooves pounded against the ground, mingling with cries for help and the sharp crack of rifles firing into the air. Thomas, who had been taking a solitary hike nearby, heard the commotion and felt a rush of adrenaline. He sprinted toward the source of the mayhem, heart racing as he imagined what he might find. Dust billowed as horses galloped past him, and he could see the fear etched on faces frozen in disbelief. The scene was chaotic, wagons overturned, goods strewn across the ground, and desperate souls trying to flee the violence. As Thomas drew closer, he witnessed a woman fall to the ground beside a wagon, her cry swallowed by the roar of chaos. Bandits rounded up terrified victims, searching for valuables while ignoring the human cost of their greed. In that moment, Thomas felt a fierce resolve ignite within him. He knew he couldn't stand by and let this tragedy unfold. With no thought to his own safety, he charged ahead into the fray, determined to help whoever he could. As Thomas rushed through the chaos, his heart pounded in his chest. He dodged fallen crates and scattered belongings, his eyes scanning for anyone in need. The air was thick with dust and the cries of the unfortunate, and each step pulled him deeper into a scene of destruction. He could see the bandits moving quickly among the wreckage, their shouts mingling with the moans of the injured. Just when he thought he might lose hope, he caught sight of a figure huddled behind an overturned wagon. A shiver ran down his spine as he approached. There, trembling and pale, was a young woman with dark hair matted against her forehead. She looked fragile, as if the weight of the world pressed down upon her. Her clothes were torn, and she clutched her arm tightly, blood seeping through her fingers. "Hey!" Thomas called out, voice steady despite the chaos around them. "It's okay. I'm here to help you." The woman's wide eyes met his, filled with fear and uncertainty. "Please," she whispered, tears glistening on her cheeks. I'm hurt, they took everyone. Without hesitation, Thomas knelt beside her, taking in her injuries. You'll be safe now, he assured her gently, trying to calm her racing heart. What's your name? Eliza, she replied faintly, her voice barely above a whisper. Thomas carefully examined her arm, noting the deep gash that needed attention. I'm going to get you out of here, Eliza. Can you stand? He offered his hand, and after a moment of hesitation, she nodded slightly. With a surge of determination, he helped her to her feet just as another scream pierced the air nearby. They needed to move quickly before more bandits returned. Supporting Eliza as best as he could, Thomas guided her away from the wreckage and into the nearby thicket where they might find temporary safety. Stay close to me, he urged, realizing that this unexpected encounter was about to change both their lives forever. As Thomas led Eliza into the thicket, her body trembled with fear, and he could feel the weight of her pain. He stopped for a moment to catch his breath, scanning their surroundings to ensure they were safe. We need to keep moving, he urged, glancing at her injury. But can you tell me more about what happened? Who were those men? Eliza hesitated, her eyes darting away, as if searching for the right words. I don't know, she stammered. They came out of nowhere. I was just traveling with my family, her voice trailed off, the memory clearly too painful to finish. Thomas felt a pang of sorrow for her. I'm so sorry, he said softly, wanting to console her. But Eliza's mind seemed far away, burdened by thoughts that haunted her. In the flickering light that filtered through the branches, Tom noticed something glimmer on her wrist, a delicate bracelet adorned with an intricate crest he recognized from tales of noble houses. His heart raced. It couldn't be what he thought, could it? This young woman, hiding from danger in the wilderness, might be part of a world far removed from the struggles of his own life. Where are you from, Eliza? He asked carefully. She looked at him, her gaze steady but guarded. I'm from Europe. Thomas's brow furrowed as he tried to piece together her story. Are you nobility? Eliza's expression softened for a brief moment before a shadow crossed her face. It's complicated. The truth of her identity lingered in the air between them, heavy and unspoken. In that instant, Thomas felt a shift within himself. Here she was, a survivor fleeing turmoil from an aristocratic family, yet in this wild frontier, she was just like him, lost and searching for safety. He decided then that whatever secrets Eliza carried, he would protect her. They were now bound by fate, two souls intertwined in a world filled with uncertainty. As twilight descended, Thomas guided Eliza to his modest cabin nestled at the edge of the forest. Inside, the warmth of a crackling fire greeted them, casting flickering shadows against the wooden walls. Thomas hurried to gather supplies for her injury while Eliza sat on a rickety chair, still trembling from the day's events. Here, let me clean that up, he said gently as he approached her with a damp cloth and some bandages. Eliza winced slightly as he began to carefully tend to her arm, but she managed a faint smile in gratitude. Thank you, she whispered, her voice soft and shaky. As he worked, Thomas felt an unexpected bond form between them, a connection rooted in shared hardship and vulnerability. I lost someone too, he said quietly, choosing his words carefully. My wife passed away last year. It still hurts every day. Eliza's eyes widened with empathy. I'm so sorry, she replied, her own pain reflected in her gaze. Thomas nodded, appreciating her sincerity but feeling a sense of guilt as well. It was sudden, he continued, trying to keep his emotions in check. One moment we were happy, dreaming about our future together, and the next, he paused, shaking his head as the memories washed over him like a tide of sorrow. I can't imagine what that must have been like, Eliza said softly. I've only known loss for a short time. Encouraged by her understanding, Thomas pressed on. What about your family? Are they looking for you? Eliza hesitated again, shadows clouding her expression. They are just complicated. She avoided saying too much about her noble background but instead focused on how she had felt trapped and suffocated by expectations before fleeing. In that moment of shared stories and vulnerability, trust began to blossom between them. Though they came from different worlds, one as a widowed laborer and the other as a hidden noble, they found solace in each other's company. In this simple cabin filled with warmth and hope, both Thomas and Eliza realized they were no longer alone in their struggles. They had each found a kindred spirit amid their pain. As night fell, the tranquility of Thomas's cabin was shattered by the distant sound of thundering hooves. The bandits were still on the loose, hunting for survivors and their next victims. Thomas's heart raced as he turned to Eliza, who sat wide-eyed, panic etched across her face. "We can't stay here," he whispered urgently. "We need to move. They could find us at any moment." Eliza nodded, fear coursing through her veins. "But where will we go?" she asked, her voice trembling. "There's a cave further down by the river," Thomas suggested, recalling his memories of the land. "It's well hidden and should keep us safe for a while." Quickly gathering what little supplies they had, some water skins and a few provisions, Thomas led Eliza out into the darkness. The cool night air was thick with tension as they made their way cautiously through the woods. Every rustle of leaves or snap of a twig sent them both into a state of alertness. As they approached the riverbank, Thomas noticed the unmistakable sounds of horses nearby. They weren't far off. He quickly pulled Eliza behind a cluster of bushes, holding his breath as shadows moved in and out of the moonlight. "Stay quiet," he instructed softly, his heart pounding in his ears. Peeking through the branches, he saw two bandits dismounting and searching the area around the wreckage of the wagon train. Their harsh laughter echoed through the woods, a chilling reminder of the danger that lurked just beyond their hiding spot. Eliza clutched Thomas's arm tightly, her face pale with fear. "What do we do if they find us?" she whispered. "We'll have to be smart," Thomas replied, determination igniting within him. "If they come too close, we'll have to distract them and make a run for it." As they waited in silence, Thomas felt a surge of protectiveness wash over him. He realized that this was not just about survival, it was about keeping Eliza safe from harm at all costs. Together, they would navigate this perilous world, relying on each other's strength to face whatever threats lay ahead. As dawn broke, the light creeping through the cave's entrance brought a sense of determination to Thomas and Eliza. They had spent a harrowing night tucked away from danger, whispering plans for their next steps. Just as they were about to venture out, an unexpected sound caught their attention, hooves thumping against the ground. Thomas and Eliza exchanged glances, both holding their breath as the noise grew closer. Moments later, a figure appeared at the cave's entrance, a grizzled man on horseback, his clothes dusted from travel. With a mix of unease and curiosity, Thomas stepped forward. "Who are you?" he asked warily. "I'm a friend," the man replied, dismounting with a weary sigh. "I've come looking for her." He turned to Eliza, his expression shifting from concern to relief. "Milady! I found you at last." Eliza's eyes widened in shock as she took a step back. "What do you mean, milady?" "The truth is finally out," the man said, his voice steady. "You are Baroness Eliza von Essen. Your family has been searching for you since you fled." Confusion washed over Thomas as he processed this revelation. "Baroness?" A wave of emotion surged within him, surprise, betrayal, and an unsettling doubt about everything he had thought he knew. "Eliza, is this true?" he faltered, searching her face for answers. Before she could respond, panic crossed Eliza's features. "I didn't want you to know," she exclaimed. "It was complicated. I ran away to escape my life, the pressure of being someone I didn't want to be." Thomas felt the weight of her confession hang uncomfortably between them. Just when they had begun to build trust and closeness, this news created an emotional rift. "I thought we were in this together," he said quietly, his voice wavering with hurt and confusion. "How can I trust you now?" Eliza's heart sank as she realized how deeply her secret had affected him. "Please understand that I never wanted this life. Running was my only choice." In that moment of tension and uncertainty, they stood at a crossroads. Would their bond be strong enough to survive this revelation, or were they destined to become strangers once more? After the revelation of Eliza's identity, an uneasy silence loomed over the cave as both Thomas and Eliza grappled with their newfound realities. Days passed, filled with the urgency of survival as they evaded the bandits, yet amidst this turmoil, personal growth began to bloom. In their nightly conversations around a small fire, Thomas found himself stepping into a new role. He shared ideas about plans for their future and ways to fend off threats. With each discussion, his confidence grew, helping him rediscover the man he once was, someone who could take charge and protect those he cared about. The weight of loss that had burdened him for so long began to lift as he realized he had a purpose again, safeguarding Eliza, despite her hidden past. Eliza also transformed during this harrowing journey. She learned that her worth didn't solely depend on her noble title or family name. As she faced danger and hardship alongside Thomas, she felt empowered by her own resourcefulness. They crafted traps to keep themselves safe and strategized how to evade their pursuers, not as a Baroness needing protection but as someone capable of resilience and strength. One evening, while huddled by the fire with stars twinkling overhead, Thomas noticed Eliza staring into the flames. "What are you thinking about?" he asked gently. "I've been reflecting on everything," Eliza admitted quietly. "I used to think my title defined me. But being here, with you, I'm learning that I can be more than who others expect me to be." Her words struck a chord within Thomas, reminding him how far they had both come. Stripped of societal expectations and titles out in the wilderness, they were unlikely allies drawn together by fate, a penniless widower and a runaway baroness finding solace in each other's strength. With renewed hope blooming in their hearts, they prepared for whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing they could face them together, and believing in themselves anew was the first step on that path. Just as Thomas and Eliza began to feel secure in their newfound partnership, the quiet tranquility of the woods was shattered by the unmistakable sound of galloping horses. Panic surged through them as they realized the bandits had tracked them down. Eliza's face paled as she clutched her bracelet instinctively, fear flooding her eyes. "We have to move," Thomas urged, his heart racing. "We'll try to outsmart them." He quickly surveyed their surroundings, his mind racing with possibilities. Drawing on the resourcefulness he had developed during their time together, he whispered a plan to Eliza. They would lead the bandits away from their hiding spot and take advantage of the dense underbrush surrounding them. As the sounds of hooves grew closer, adrenaline surged through Thomas. He positioned himself in front of Eliza, ready to protect her at all costs. "No matter what happens, stay behind me," he instructed firmly. The bandits rode into view, three masked figures wielding weapons and exuding an air of menace. "We know you're in here," one of them yelled, scanning the trees with keen eyes. With a swift signal, Thomas pushed through the underbrush, using the terrain to conceal their movements. As they darted from tree to tree, he managed to throw rocks and branches in different directions, creating distractions that confused the bandits. However, one particularly observant bandit caught sight of Eliza and charged towards her. In an instant, Thomas's instincts kicked in. He lunged forward and tackled the attacker, grappling for control. The two men rolled on the ground, trading blows as Eliza gasped in horror. "Run!" Thomas shouted at Eliza, his voice filled with urgency. She hesitated but saw the determination in his eyes and realized she had to trust him. As Thomas fought valiantly against the bandit, he felt a surge of courage flowing through him, a newfound bravery that fueled his every move. He used his surroundings to his advantage, finally subduing the attacker long enough to regain his footing. Breathing heavily but determined, Thomas turned to Eliza. "We can't stay here any longer." Together they fled deeper into the woods, leaving behind not only danger but also an unbreakable bond forged in bravery and genuine trust. Through this confrontation, both learned that courage comes from within, and they were willing to do whatever it took to protect each other. After narrowly escaping the bandits, Thomas and Eliza found refuge in a clearing surrounded by tall trees, their hearts still racing from the encounter. The sun was beginning to rise, casting a golden hue across the forest floor, signaling a new day and, perhaps, a new beginning for both of them. Eliza sat on a fallen log, her expression a mixture of relief and contemplation. "We made it," she whispered, staring at the ground as if searching for answers. "But what now?" Thomas approached her, sensing the weight of her thoughts. "You are safe now," he assured her softly. "But we need to figure out what we'll do next. We can't keep running forever." Eliza nodded slowly, then took a deep breath. "I've been thinking a lot about my life, who I am and what I want. She looked up at him, determination flashing in her eyes. "I don't want to hide anymore. Yes, I am Baroness Eliza von Essen, but that doesn't define me. I want to embrace who I truly am and choose my own path." Thomas felt a surge of hopefulness as he listened. "You deserve to live freely," he said, admiration evident in his voice. "But what does that mean for us?" "I want to be with you, Thomas," she replied earnestly, a smile breaking through her earlier tension. "You showed me what it means to be brave and strong, not because of titles or wealth but because of who we are inside." His heart swelled at her words as he considered all they had endured together. "Then let's leave this dangerous life behind, start fresh somewhere new," he suggested, feeling inspired by her resolve. As they discussed their dreams and hopes for the future, they crafted plans filled with possibilities, perhaps traveling further west where they could carve out a life together free from the burdens of their pasts. With newfound purpose and strength in each other's company, Thomas and Eliza faced their future unafraid. The bond they had formed in adversity would serve as their foundation, guiding them through countless adventures ahead, a penniless widower and a runaway baroness ready to write their own story together. As Thomas and Eliza began their journey into a new life, they carried with them the deep understanding that hardship had forged an unbreakable bond between them. The terrifying events they had experienced together had not only tested their courage but also highlighted the profound truth that unexpected friendships can blossom in the most unlikely circumstances. Traveling further west, they found a small, welcoming town where they could start afresh. Here, Eliza embraced her identity as a baroness, not as a burden or a title to uphold, but as a part of her past that shaped who she was. In this new setting, she could be both herself and someone who valued humility and kindness above social status. Thomas, too, transformed, he had faced his fears head-on and emerged as a man full of purpose and strength. Together, they opened a modest general store, combining their abilities and dreams into something beautiful. Thomas found joy in serving the community while Eliza connected with townsfolk, sharing her ideas to uplift others in their new home. They created a space where people from all walks of life could gather, an inclusive place where wealth didn't matter, only shared stories and laughter did. Their relationship deepened with every challenge met together, love grew like wildflowers despite the difficulties of their pasts. What started as a chance encounter during turmoil blossomed into a partnership grounded in respect and admiration. Each day brought new adventures, full of hope and possibility. As they looked toward the horizon each morning, Thomas and Eliza understood that their bond was stronger than societal barriers. They knew that love could transcend the differences defined by titles and expectations because it flourished in shared struggles and mutual support. In this new chapter of their lives, they found healing not just from their scars but also from one another. With hearts full of hope and connection to guide them forward, Thomas and Eliza prepared to face whatever the future held, with courage rooted in love and friendship.